All right, guys, let's go deep into our NFL power rankings heading into Week 11 with our New York Post NFL reporter and the man who made the rankings, Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, what's going on, man? Week 10, we saw some really good football from some good teams. And if you're a fan of New York football, we saw some really bad football. How you doing, man?
That sounds right for the last 7 or 8 years, Brandon.
All right, why can't we have nice things here in New York? Let's get into this rankings. Your top three has some familiar faces, obviously. The Chiefs, the Lions, the Ravens. But you have the 6-3 Packers and the 6-4 Texans in your top 10. The Packers over the Eagles? Talk to me, man. Talk to me about this top 10.
Yeah, and for Packers over Eagles, look, there's a lot of really bad teams in the NFL this year, and I feel like the Packers haven't really been one of those teams that's just feasting on the bad teams. They've beaten they've beaten a lot of the mediocre to good teams, like the Rams, the Cardinals, they beat the Texans, the Colts. They had a 4-game winning streak. And that's obviously with Jordan Love being up and down, injured twice. So I think they're a really good team that hasn't hit their stride yet. And obviously, the Eagles are loaded too. I mean, what Saquon Barkley's doing is incredible. Jalen Hurts, the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry combo gets all the love as Player of the Year MVP. Hurts, Barkley isn't far behind them. So, I think the NFC, those two teams are really good. And then the top three teams, I think it's pretty clear-cut. I don't know how the Ravens lost to the Raiders, and they have one other inexplicable loss on the season, the Browns. I don't know how they lost those two games, but they should be right there as a one-loss team, too. I think it's pretty clear who the three best teams in the NFL are.
All right, I think hashtag Go Pack Go and Jordan Love appreciate the love. So let's talk about the top 10 to 20. Which middle-tier teams or team do you think is primed to make a run in the second half of the season?
It's almost unfair to call the 49ers a middle-tier team because I have them 11 and they're basically knocking on the door, but obviously them, right? I mean, if we're counting them as a middle-tier team, they're just outside the top 10. They're really good. They're a threat every year. They're in the NFC Championship game every year. They've been wrecked by injuries to Ayuk out for the season, Debo in and out of the lineup. They're starting to get healthy. Obviously, they're going to make their typical run to the playoffs in what is probably a division where the four teams are separated by a game and a half top to bottom. I would expect the 49ers probably to pull that out. And then two teams I think are much better than their record are the one's outside the top 20. So I'll tell you the Bucs. I think the Bucs are much better than their record. They're sitting here at 4-6. The schedule's about to ease up. The 6 teams who have beaten the Bucs are 38-20. So the 6 losses they have are to teams that are 38-20. Schedule's going to ease up. You look for the Bucs to maybe steal that last playoff spot in the NFC.
Yeah, once Baker Mayfield gets Mike Evans back, that offense led by Liam Cohen, go UMass, is going to get back to hitting on all strides. Now, is there a team or some teams from 21 to 32 that you think can make a run and make the playoffs?
From 21 to 32, no, that's where all the bad teams. But 20, right on that edge. The Bengals are 4-6. There's 6 teams, I think, in the AFC that we know are going to the playoffs. The 7th spot is kind of up for grabs, and that's a lot, Brandon. That's a lot to be decided with 8 games still to go in the NFL season, or 7 games, 8 weeks still to go. So it's a lot to be that clear of a picture. I think the Bengals could be the team that maybe steals it. Again, they're 4-6, but their 6 losses are to teams that are 40-18. So they've only lost to good teams too. So eventually the coin will flip the other way for them. If 9-8 can get you in, I think the Bengals can get to 9-8. As far as anybody after them at 20, that's where the delineation starts. I would have said the Cowboys maybe, but Dak Prescott's now out for the year, so that's not happening. The Bears are going to come in last in their division, even though they'll be around 500. So, no, I don't think there's anyone from 21 to 32. That's where the bad teams are.
All right, Ryan, usually I don't like ending these things on a negative note, but you have the Jets at 26 and the Giants dead last. Does the on-field product look that bad for Gangrene and Big Blue?
Yeah, it does, or they wouldn't be there. Yeah, I mean, for the Jets, their season died in New England a couple weeks ago. That was false hope against the Texans. 31-6 against the Cardinals, 20 missed tackles. Jets don't do anything right, and they have way too many players to be where they are right now. And then the Giants are maybe the worst team in the league. I've been doing this for the power rankings for the Post since 2020, Brandon, and this is the Giants have been bad most of that time, and this is the first week I've ever had them 32. They've always been 25, 28, 30. This is the first week I've ever had them 32. When you don't score in the first half against the NFL's worst scoring defense in the Panthers, and then you allow whatever was almost 150 something rushing yards on your rushing defense to the Panthers against a quarterback who's already been benched, you're the worst team in the league.
All right. So I found a way to end this on a positive note. If they're
If
they're dead last, the only way is up after this. The only way is up. So Giants fans are hoping for that. Ryan Dunleavy, we appreciate the rankings and the time, my man.
Thanks for having me.